Redevelopment Agency, to be followed by the regular redevelopment agency meeting.
Special meeting of the City Council.
Which one?
So I will call to order the special meeting of the Glendale City Council of November 15th, 2011. Can we have a roll call for the council, please?
Council members: Manukian,
Here.
Najarian, Quintero,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Mayor Friedman.
Here. Can we hear your report, please?
The agenda for the November 15, 2011 special meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, November 10, 2011 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you.
And before you is a public hearing, Director of Community Development, regarding Kenwood Terrace, 118 South Kenwood Street Design Review and Development Agreement. 1A is resolution certifying and adopting a negative declaration. 1B is motion approving design review submission subject to comments and conditions from the council. And 1C is ordinance for introduction approving the statutory development agreement.
Good afternoon, Mayor Friedman, members of the council. The Kenwood Terrace project.
Roger, introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Roger Kiesel. I'm a planner with the city. The Kenwood Terrace project is a proposed multifamily project. It's located on the east side of Kenwood, between Broadway and Harvard Street. The staff is requesting council take 3 actions this afternoon. The first is to adopt the negative declaration for the project. The second is to approve the final design review of the project. And the third action is to introduce the ordinance approving the proposed development agreement on the project.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing.
Okay.
Do you want to give more of a report than that? Is that it? Okay. I have 2 cards. Rodney Kahn, to be followed by Mike Mohill.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, and City staff. My name is Rodney Kahn. My offices are located on Brand Boulevard here in the city of Glendale. We had a PowerPoint presentation that we were going to briefly provide you.
Rodney, can you come here?
Just for the record, I'm looking at the campaign finance disclosure. I don't know anyone on there, but if you have made any contributions to my campaigns, please let me know now, because some of these people I know, but I don't think they have.
Just to be clear, that would only be if you had received money within the last 12 months, just for the whole council to realize.
That's just for me, I guess,
Yeah.
at this point.
But
If you've made any kind of contributions and your names are in here, which I don't think you have, but in case I've missed it, please let me know, because I don't want to vote on anything that I might be conflicted on. So,
Thank you.
As they set up, I'll go ahead and begin the presentation. This site is actually located directly south of or behind the 416 on Broadway. And that project is a 4- and 5-story project that consists of about 115 units. We are also across the street from the 10-story affordable housing, affordable senior housing apartment complex, the Casa de la Paloma. Our site is also within walking distance, as you can see, from the Americana, the Galleria, also Central Library, and a number of other businesses, shops, and restaurants in the East Broadway neighborhood. We provided a visual comparison. Artie, if you could go to the next slide, please. A visual comparison of this project as it relates to what's across the street from us. This is a 9-story plus 9-story of residential, plus the 10th floor is actually mechanical, with about 166 units. Our site is actually about 5 stories in height, with about 35 units. So we're half the size and about a quarter of the density compared to the buildings. We worked closely with your city staff on the design, specifically Alan Loomis and Roger Kiesel, as it relates to the site layout, the mass, the scale, also the orientation and layout of the open space and the colors and the materials. This project, as you know, is an infill project located in the middle of the block on a mixed-use street. And what we tried to do was keep the design simple, simplify the design, simplify the colors, the materials of where it's located at, so it could be very compatible with other land uses in the area. The site plan introduces a large courtyard to the north, and this allows our residents and the 416 building, which is directly north of us, some visual enjoyment of this courtyard. We also have all the common, private, and public open space required for the project. As you can see from the front elevation, we designed a symmetrical building that has a main entry, emphasized by two tower elements made from a natural stone finish. This same stone, slightly different in color, is used on the first floor. It gives the building a base, and it also maintains the consistency of that treatment. This is an image that shows our public open space. For projects now, we have common, private, and public open space. This is the public open space element on the front of the building. It shows there's seating areas along with walls. We have natural landscaping, fountains, and areas for both the public to congregate and for our residents as well.
Open space, you said?
Yes.
The stairs, basically?
No, the open space consists of a little bit more than just the stairs, also the landscaping and also the fountain elements in the front.
How is it open space if it's blocked off?
It's not blocked off. It
has like those, maybe two feet maybe? How tall are these walls? So no one can walk through these?
No, what this is the public open space element. So what we have is we have a small percentage of our site requires public open space. The public open space includes the seating, includes the walls, but it also includes the landscape area as well.
The landscape area looks more like the setback to me than you're calling it public open space?
It's part of our public open space component, yes.
Okay.
If we can go to the next slide. The rear elevation, we just put that up for consistency to show that the building is treated all the way around in the same manner. We also have our parking, which is important to note. Our 2 levels of subterranean parking is accessed off the alley to the east, and that really helps us in terms of being able to, on the front, keep more common open space and public open space along with landscaping. This is our landscape plan. It shows that we have a number of drought-tolerant plant material in terms of the landscape consistency throughout. It also shows some hardscaping in our courtyards, along with fountains and other amenities for the project. And just a few other items. The other amenities that I speak of are private balconies for each unit, outdoor courtyards and gardens, and on each floor from 2 through 5, we have indoor recreation rooms and play areas for the residents. This project will be designed to achieve a silver LEED rating as administered by the U.S. Green Building Council, which is part of our incentives for the downtown specific plan. 2 items and I'll conclude. One is the property owner is also the builder, and that's Mr. Andre Babacanlu. He's a civil and structural engineer, has built a number of projects here in the city of Glendale, and also has been a resident for the past 30 years. We also have our architect, Sean Azizian. He's an architect based here in Glendale, has done projects for the last 30 years here as well. We've reviewed the city staff report, their recommendations, and we agree with their analysis. I'll conclude my remarks. Either myself, the property owner, Andre, or our architect are available to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My next card is Mike
Can I
Mohill.
ask a question?
Sure.
I'm looking at Google Maps at the location. There's some construction to the north of this property. What is being built, and do you know the height of that building?
Councilman Manukian, to the north of our property is the 416.
Existing building.
That's an existing building.
Okay.
Here it is.
Okay, so it's not showing the building, this is a older
Old,
picture, I
yeah.
guess.
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
so, okay. So what is the difference between the height of that building and what you're proposing?
It's very similar in height. We have, that building is 4 and 5 stories in height. It actually varies in terms of the overall height. Our building is 5 stories in height, so we're very consistent with in terms of the overall height of the building.
And in terms of density, it's similar in terms of density as well?
Their density is 115 units. It is on a larger site, but our density is 35 units.
You know how large a site it is?
No, I don't.
You don't recall it this time? Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Mr. Khan? Okay, thank you. My next card is Mike Mohill, to be followed by Sam Daglian.
Good evening, Chairman Friedman. My name is Mike Mohill, council members, and the viewing public. On this project specifically, you state that this is going to be a green LEED building, silver. Well, with the amount of setback I see around this building, there's no green. Where's the courtyard? People want to see a courtyard. People want to see green, green, green. So don't give me the stuff called it's the green building. It ain't green. The only thing that's green is somebody's pocket and his wallet. Okay? Number 2. Parking, fine, 35 units. The big question is, we now have, I just did my homework last night. We've got Verdugo Gardens that has 22 residential units. Legendary Tower has 72 units. Lexington has 204 units. Broadway Loft, 208 units. Lemley, 42 units. Now we're going to add this project and another project. That means we're going to have 2,334 more cars in the central area of Glendale. Parking, traffic. Are we putting the cart in front of the horse? What are we doing to eliminate the traffic on Colorado, Brand, Central, Glendale Avenue? It's bumper-to-bumper traffic in the morning and the evening. And now you're going to make it even denser. Why don't we take care of the traffic problems now, not for the next city council? I know the Downtown Pacific says, oh, it's within the Pacific Plan. You know what? The previous council made a mistake. We need to lower the density of these buildings, provide more parkings, Mr. Weaver, provide more land. By the way, the landfill. I keep hearing the landfill is good for maybe 10 more years. Then I hear it's 20 more years. Depends on which developer you're talking about. I'm a resident of this city for over 30 years, and I don't want my landfill to be filled up with people who are not really paying their way. Then we have the situation of the water conservation. I grant you, an apartment dweller only uses like 1/5 the amount of water as a person who owns a home. But the homeowners have been here for years. Why must we pay the penalty? Why must we carry, the load for the developers and the city employees who want these projects so they can take care of their salaries and their pensions? I'm a homeowner. I'm a taxpayer. We don't need more. It isn't that we need more growth. We needed controlled growth. Okay? We need no accelerated growth. All I see is negative impact on all these projects. You got another one coming up? Something's got to give. Are our council members planning to live in these condos and apartments? I know I don't want to.
Thank you.
Where's the quality of life for the residents who live in Glendale?
Sam Daglian, it's my next card.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Sam Daglian. I am the listing agent and at the same time represent the owners of the property of the project next to 118 South Kenwood. It's an empty lot. The address is 126 South Kenwood, and we are in support of the project. It's an empty lot that exists right now, and if there's any way we can support this project and contribute in any way, please let Mr. Rodney and the owner let us know. The owner of the property, they've been living in Glendale close to 50 years, and plus Mr. Rubin and Ed Buchek. So just to let you know that we are in support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Caragolianian?
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Joe. I'm the owner of MJM Banquet Hall, which is directly in front of the proposed building that's supposed to go up there. Honestly, I don't have a problem with the building going up. I have no issues with that. I just want to come here today and let it be known that we do run a business. It is a banquet hall. We do have weddings, engagements, and they normally start in the evenings and go all the way maybe to 1 to 2 a.m. There are people outside standing, so I just want, before they start building, to take that into consideration. And we are grandfathered in, so we were there way before any of these buildings came up. So basically, that's all I'm here to say today is that, we do run a business, and hopefully it doesn't interrupt our business, and I'm willing to support them in every way, shape, and form, as long as we don't get in each other's way. So just wanted to come here today and let you guys know about that.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Hopefully you'll have some new customers.
Hopefully.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and go to council for comments. Mr. Weaver?
Yes, as Mr. Mohill brought up my name again, we developed the downtown specific plan over a decade. Mr. Mohill was not here. The intent of doing it was to concentrate future growth in downtown rather than out in the neighborhoods. So if there's going to be traffic, it would be downtown, not out on our residential streets. Also was to try to entice people to live downtown and walk to restaurants and shopping downtown rather than having to get in their cars and move. So that was the goal of the councils, all the councils that I've sat on since the 90s. And I think we achieved this. In this case, it's fine. It's a vacant lot. And how much can you do on a square parcel of land architecturally? It'll be okay, and it'll provide some downtown housing where people can get out and walk. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Quintero?
This project fits in well with the downtown strategic plan and specifically fits in well on Kenwood. As was noted, there's some high-rise towers in the vicinities. I like the design, and I think it's going to complement the downtown, and obviously people that live here will be able to walk to Brand, walk to all the various stores. What I'm curious about, I looked for it, but I didn't find it. Is there a situation where we can have a shared car or the electrical outlets and so forth? I'd like that.
Mr. Khan, do you want to answer the question?
Yes, I do. Councilman Quintero, yes, there is. In fact, for this project, we have one additional parking space. That one additional parking space is for a shared car program.
Okay.
One other thing to add is on this project as well, we have the ability to provide electrical charging for vehicles as well, which is a little different.
Thank you. Other comments from you?
The lot south of it is not part of the project, right? The empty lot? That's correct. It's not part of the project? Is that being considered for any project? Does anyone know? Are you the listing agent of the lot south of it? Yes. Okay. You could not incorporate that lot?
We can't hear you.
You guys could not incorporate that lot into the project?
I did contact Mr. Rodney to see if they'll be interested in purchasing it. It is available for sale, and if the price is right, absolutely.
Okay. Well, in general, I'm opposed to dense projects in the downtown. I prefer not so dense projects, but this is a small enough project that I will not vote against. However, it would have been better in terms of from a planning point of view to incorporate the vacant lot south of it into the project. It would have been, I think, a better project. But of course, that all has to do with the financial feasibility of the owners and the project itself, and whether everything else fits into fits into the finances properly, so I will support the project.
Thank you. With that, can we have a motion for the
Yes.
resolution?
Is the public hearing closed?
Public hearing has been closed.
Okay, I'll move 1A and B.
Second?
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Council members Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian, Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Friedman.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I'll introduce the ordinance of 1C.
Okay, the ordinance has been introduced. Can we hear item 2?
Item 2 is also a public hearing, Director of Community Development regarding Colorado Gardens, 124 West Colorado Street and 203 West Elk Avenue. Design Review and Development Agreement. 2A is resolution certifying and adopting a negative declaration. E is motion approving design review submission subject to comments and conditions from the council. C is ordinance for introduction approving statutory development agreement.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. Mr. Priestel.
Good evening again, Mayor Friedman, members of the council. Roger Kiesel from the Planning Department. The Colorado Gardens project is a multifamily residential project located on the south side of Colorado between Brand Boulevard and Central Avenue, directly south of the to-be-constructed Nordstrom site. Like the previous project, staff is requesting the council take the following actions. The first is to certify the proposed negative declaration. The second is to approve the final design review of the project. And then the final action is to introduce the ordinance approving the development agreement for the project. The project site where Colorado Gardens is proposed is 21,000 square feet. It's zoned transitional zone, the Colorado Transitional Zone, and the DSP. Currently, the site contains a building that will be demolished as part of the project. The project will contain 50 multifamily residential units in 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom configurations. It's a 5-story building with a mezzanine. The publicly accessible open space is located adjacent to both the streets, both Colorado and Elk. The staff report contained a condition that the publicly accessible open space be redesigned to the urban design principal urban designer satisfaction. Since release of the staff report, the applicant has submitted plans that appear to be satisfactory with that person. So there's common open space on the project site. It's in the western central portion of the project. Overall, the project is consistent with the DSP transitional zoning standards. The design of the project takes advantage of the Sustainable Design LEED Silver incentive contained in the DSP. The transitional zone allows 4 stories with an FAR of 2.5, with an incentive 6 stories and an FAR of 3.00 is allowed. And the project, as I mentioned before, is 5 stories with a mezzanine, and the FAR is 2.9. The developer will be required to enter into a covenant to build the project to LEED Silver standards. The covenant requires a performance bond, and the amount of this bond is based on the difference between the project with the incentive and without the incentive. A condition of approval will be added to the project requiring this covenant. The applicant has requested a development agreement related to the early payment fee, the early payment of Parks and Libraries impact fee. The Planning Commission on October 24th held a public hearing and recommended that the City Council approve this development agreement. As part of the review of the project, the staff prepared an initial study. No significant impacts were identified as a result of the study, and staff has prepared a proposed negative declaration. The comment period for this document was September 30th through October 19th. Staff did not receive any comments regarding the document. Again, council will need to adopt the negative declaration at this meeting if approval of the project is desired. That concludes my presentation. I'll bring up the applicants if you have no questions of me.
Any questions for Mr. Kiesel? Okay, Rodney Kahn is my first card.
Madam Mayor, did you open the public hearing?
I opened it already.
Good afternoon again. Mayor, City Council, and City staff, my name is Rodney Kahn. See, the PowerPoint is up. Thank you very much. My office is once again here in the city of Glendale. This first shot we have is a night shot, and as mentioned by staff, our site is directly across the street from the Americana brand, where the new Nordstrom is. This puts the context of the neighborhood into play. North of us is the Americana, both the movie theaters, also the new Nordstrom, and the 6-story residential condominium on the corner of Brand and Colorado. On the west and east of us on Colorado are 2 motels, the Roadway Inn and the Vagabond Inn. And to the south of us is multifamily residential. We were asked, how does our project compare with the number of stories and the overall height with the Americana condominium project? And what this illustrates, this comparison, it shows that our building is 1 story lower and 9 feet 4 inches lower in height than the Excelsior building across the street. And this comparison is accurate, and it was taken from city documents. We've designed the project to consist of 50 residential dwelling units, 21 one-bedroom, 24 two-bedroom, and 4 three-bedroom. The average unit size for the ones is about 865 square feet, for the 2, 1,300 square feet, and for the 3s, 1,700 square feet. On this project, we have 84 on-site parking spaces and 2 levels of subterranean garage. Ingress and egress to the parking is actually off the street to the south, which is Elk Avenue. We have bicycle storage, bicycle racks, we have electrical chargers, and we have a shared car parking stall. We had a number of meetings with the design studio staff, and we discussed and we sometimes debated issues. One is the downtown specific plan allows a project such as ours with incentives to build up to 6 stories and 95 feet in height. We are proposing a project that is 5 stories and 70 feet in height. We are 1 story and 25 feet lower than what the downtown specific plan with incentives would allow. What we discussed and what we sometimes debated was the architectural style of the building. We preferred a more traditional style instead of a more modern style. We also, in terms of the mass and the scale of the building, we felt it lent itself to being more symmetrical instead of asymmetrical. We did not want an unbalanced or chopped appearance for the building. And then recently there was a suggestion that we consider a pedestrian paseo with the project, and that is something that we never intended or for us did not make sense. What we did agree on, we did agree that the ground floor along Colorado Street should be used as a formal entry. We also talked about recreation rooms, indoor play areas, and on each floor we've incorporated that as well. This is a side elevation. The reason we put that in there is to show, once again, consistency with the architectural treatment and the fenestration of the building. And this addresses, in terms of the downtown specific plan incentives, as it relates to silver LEED rating as administered by the U.S. Green Building Council. If you can go to the next one, if you don't mind. Because this is a through lot that extends from Colorado through to Elk, we were able to have accessible open space both on Colorado and on Elk, and we were able to include amenities for those areas, everything from seating areas to gardens. And in this particular project, there's an outdoor fireplace and some other amenities for the residents of this project to enjoy. I'll conclude my presentation on those remarks, and Mr. Nick Lamb is here and would like to say a few words. If you have questions, though, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Khan? Okay, Nick Lamb?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You have that little mall to the east of you and the Vagabond Inn on the west off Colorado. Is that where?
Directly to the west of us is the Roadway Inn. Directly to the east of us is the Vagabond Inn. Directly across the street from us will be the new Nordstrom building.
Okay.
Okay, Nick Lamb to be followed by Mike Mohill.
Madam Mayor and member of the City Council, good afternoon. My name is Nick Lamb, and I'm the managing member for Pacific Town Center Development LLC, the owner and developer of this project. I want to let you know that I'm really proud of this well-located project, and it is right across from the new upcoming Nordstrom and the Americana, and also within walking distance to the Glendale Galleria and the upcoming Bloomingdale. We intend to make this into a high-quality project, and in fact, we were thinking about we will have nicer railing, nicer quality stucco, and better appliances inside our unit as compared to the current unit in the Americana. So this will be a high-quality project. With the changes to the city code, we are able to amend this project in a way that is much more financially viable. Currently, the plan consists of 50 units, a mixture of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom. This project is intended to be a condo project for sale. However, if the economy continues to be really bad and we are unable to sell, we will be able to survive as a high quality apartment project. So this makes it much more feasible, and is our intent to, once it's get approved, we're going to line this up, get entitlement, building permit, and get construction going. This project will provide housing in the downtown area. It is of moderate density and not high density. It is in an area of the city with a mix of land uses and building sizes, all on the same street. I also want to point out that this project will bring substantial economic benefit to the city of Glendale. We estimate it will create about 200 construction jobs during the construction period, which is about 18 months. Upon completion of the project, the new property value, which we estimate is about $27 million, and that means that every year it will generate a property tax of about $270,000. I hope you agree with me that this is a good and well-designed project, and it will be a nice addition to the neighborhood. And I hope that you like it and approve it. I thank you for your time, and I'll be happy to answer any question you have.
Thank you. Mike Mohill's my last card.
Good evening, Mayor Friedman, council members, and the viewing audience. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past 3 years since the mayor's been in office, we're going to have 1,000 new apartments in Glendale. 1,000. This is what you call accelerated growth. Not planned slow, but accelerated. We're going to have over 2,000 more cars on the streets of Glendale. The landfill will be impacted. Our schools will be impacted. Our parks will be impacted. And the list goes on. In the meantime, the homeowners will be footing the bill for the benefit of the developers and the city employees, not for the people who voted for you. We expected controlled growth, not accelerated growth. Brand, Central, Colorado, Glendale Avenue, bottleneck, night and day now. In the next 2 years, Glendale will be bumper-to-bumper traffic, and I want to thank Councilman Quintero, Najarian, Friedman, and Weaver, because your footprints have been in all these projects. Mr. Manukian, you just came aboard. When my neighbors say traffic is bad, I'll remind them in 2013 when there's an election, who voted for all these projects? When we have to send our garbage out to the desert because the landfill is full with new residents. When our schools are full, our parks, where are the soccer fields for the kids for South Glendale? Nothing for those folks. But the developer gets his way. So do the city employees get their added bonuses, which we'll talk about tonight with the pensions. Because all these impact fees, they all get transferred first to take care of the city's first obligation. It's not schools, not parks, not libraries. It's the pensions. And when you ask for a partial tax tonight, it'd be for the same reason. We don't have the money. It isn't the revenue problem of the city, it's the expense side. And right now, by having new apartments and condos in, we're going to have more money coming in, absolutely. And that will benefit the city employees, not the homeowners up in the foothills who voted for you folks in the last go-around. I hope they remember 2013, that this date is the day you decided to impact the residents who put you on council. Not the developer who put you on council, and not the city employees that put you on council. We voted for you. And I'm telling you, I'll be out there with everybody else. Thank you. My name is Mike Mohill, resident of Glendale, over 30 years.
Thank you. That's my last card. I'm going to close the public hearing. Are there any comments from the council? Mr. Quintero.
In spite of the last speaker, let me say some positive things about this project. First of all, it starts by getting rid of what's really been a horrible situation, and that's the building that it will replace. That building is kind of the last holdover in terms of an automotive use. It was an upholstery shop for many, and a successful upholstery shop for many years, and there were lots of other mechanical types of automotive uses throughout this central core on Orange, on Central Avenue and Brand, etc. So this is the beginning of the transition to housing. I think it's a very appropriate project. I think it's going to fit in well on the street on Colorado, which, remember, is the main artery to the 5, which is the main artery through Los Angeles, north to south. And there are other plans for the south side of Colorado. There's plans for an all-suites hotel in one of the empty lots that fronts Colorado and Brand. Caruso bought the corner of Central in Colorado. So I think over time we're going to see some development that's going to tie into the central business core. But the south side is certainly in transition, and this is the first big step that will sort of turn the corner. It's been a number of years since we've had any development in the city, so I'm very pleased that today we're working through these projects. In terms of the apartments that are coming online, there's quite a few of them coming online. Hopefully the financing is in place and it's going to happen, but they're going to be in the downtown. They're not going to be in the surrounding neighborhoods, which have been impacted for years. They're going to be in the downtown. And we're actually going to have a lot of traffic in the downtown. How tremendous is that? There's cities throughout the nation trying to get people to come to their downtown. But we are moving forward with more than just sort of projects. We're moving forward with the kind of public transportation that's going to be necessary. So I'm very positive about it in general. The idea of the pedestrian paseo, I'm not too keen on, basically because you would go from Colorado to Elk. However, there's no punch through to other neighborhoods. You would then have to go to Central or to Brand if you're a pedestrian. So I just don't see that a paseo at midpoint here is going to really, accomplish very much. But anyway, I like the design. I think it fits in well with the Americana, and I'm very supportive of the project.
Question, where will the cars go in and out of the project?
Off of Elk.
Off of Elk only, not off of Colorado? So all the traffic will be diverted to the residential streets, basically? Yeah. So there will be no entrance off Colorado? Because
No.
if Colorado is the main arterial, then you're not. And I have to say, it's very narrow on Colorado. It would have been nicer if you had a bigger facade on Colorado than what you have.
Councilman Manukian, we agree. We wish we had a wider piece of property on Colorado as well. This is just the way the site laid out. In terms of your comment or question about the traffic circulation, we work with the traffic department. They wanted to have our access, ingress and egress coming in off of Elk. In terms of the traffic patterns, I think it works better off of Elk than it would be off of Colorado.
Well, they certainly couldn't make a left off Colorado when if there's an out. If there's an out from let's say, a parking structure underneath to Colorado, we'd have to kind of move the traffic signal. Is that traffic signal going to be moved?
Pedestrian? No.
It's right in front of the building.
I'm looking back at your city traffic engineer, and he's saying no.
That's right, the paseo to, that's the entrance to the Americana.
Is it?
It'll be-
It's a crosswalk.
Because it's right in the middle of your property. I have a problem with this project. I don't know. Go ahead, you can make comments.
This is like the one before. I forgot to mention the other one has the entrance to the parking off the alley, which I think is better. Same with this off of Elk. Again, 97, I voted against a housing project where the fabric store is now on Wilson and Orange. And I voted against it because I said the city had to develop a comprehensive master plan for downtown, so any developer coming in would be able to understand what the constraints were on any development. We're having too many projects, we're having to get tons of variances to be able to build. And we took that decade to create this document. It was well thought out. The economy is what it is. When money is tight, we're not going to build. Some of these projects have been waiting for the right time. It's loosening up, so now it looks like they're all coming together at one time. We have the Lex coming, we have others coming, but council can't control that. Ultimately, the areas downtown will be built out, and that'll be the end of it. There won't be more. And surely the people that live in this one, they're going to walk across the street and go into the Americana, eat and shop. It'll be a desirable place to live. One thing I would like to see staff look at, and I don't know what degree, when we set this transition zone, I didn't necessarily remember or see in my head that you could have a 5-6-story building across the street from a 1-story residential. And while this transition's
On Elk, you mean, right?
on Elk, yeah. So while this project's put together, been assembled to have from Colorado down to Elk, I think maybe we ought to be looking at those lots that are fronting on Elk on the north side, should there be any change in the zoning to bring the height down so it's actually stepping down rather than straight down. Right now, if future developers come in and assemble the parcels the same way as this one, you're going to find 5, 6-story buildings along the whole block, possibly. But I can see it when you get down to the corner, Colorado Central, Colorado Brand, that'd be a more desirable place to have a 5, 6-story building. So I don't know exactly what I'm asking for, but just seeing a 5-story building opposite a single-family house, closest I can look at is if you're going up on Louise where the parking structures are. On the west side, the housing is on the left. Trying to gauge some kind of a semblance in my head whether that is okay visually. And the bottom line is I'd like staff to at least talk to me and see if it makes any sense to look at any stepping down in that transitional zone. Other than that, it's fine with me. I trust Mr. Lamb will actually make it luxurious. When it's done, I want to walk through and hold you to your word. Okay? Thank you.
I'm looking on Elk, actually, and that's what was bothering me. Most of the buildings on Elk there's one 3-story north of it, or one 3-story west of it, but most of them are 1 or 2-story buildings all along Elk. What is the zoning on Elk in that area? Does it allow a 5-story building?
The zoning on Elk in that area is also the transitional zone of the DSP. So
Which is how many stories?
Sorry?
On the south side, it's
south
not.
side.
No, on the south side, it's a mix of height. I don't remember the exact zoning, but let me remind everyone why we incorporated this part of the South Colorado in the downtown specific plan was to make sure that Colorado, which is a signature arterial street in Glendale, to have a balanced view as you go on Colorado. While we have some design guidelines that explain that the stepping down, as Mr. Weaver was suggesting, is incorporated, from time to time we come across a lot or a property that is constrained, and for the developers, in order to have the project pencil out, they will have to capture some density in order to make it work. This is a very odd-shaped lot, and to accommodate that, and they wanted to necessarily go lower on Colorado than they were actually allowed to go, so they had to capture the density and the height somewhere, and this is how they did it.
It'd be the same thing on Central transitioning to the west.
So
We'll
in
have
other
the
words,
same problem.
it does step down as you move towards Elk, and as you travel south, it steps down. So
And there's
Colorado
this-
being the apex
Correct.
of height.
And then there's also a setback in the front setback on Elk that doesn't exist on Colorado. In this case,
How high is the building on Elk? It's not the Colorado that I'm concerned about.
I understand.
I'm okay with the Colorado facade, and I agree with you. However, when I look at Elk, it's a completely different neighborhood than what is on Colorado.
right, the
That
existing
is my concern, where all of the buildings, except for one actually, are older style buildings, 2-story, multi-family units, and there's one to the south that is much more dense, but it's, again, 1 or 2-story or maybe 3-story, very low-rise. They're mostly low-rise buildings, and this is 5 stories is pretty high on Elk, in my opinion. And that's what I'm having a problem with.
Yes, I would not dispute that compared to the existing buildings that may be higher, except that some of those areas are even zoned for higher densities. I don't remember the exact zoning from the top of my head, but in case there will ever be a redevelopment, we are trying to look at what's possible, and also to give enough to the developers to have a project pencil out in an infill environment. And you need to get a certain amount of density in FAR before a project pencils out.
Mr. Quintero?
I remember spending countless hours, I'll be charitable, countless hours on the South Colorado area, because we didn't just talk about this, we also went west to the Galleria section, which is, I believe, much lower. Then we went to the east,
Armory, to the
across the
Armory.
street where the Armory is and so forth. That's also a bit lower. But this particular section, because it is part of the downtown, I mean, it fronts the downtown, that's why we chose to be able to go this high in terms of, so I mean, I think the plan works. I think it works well in this particular section of Colorado, and then it works well in the other two sections, which I know are much less dense. And weren't you around, Mr. Manukian? I mean, this has been around.
I voted against it, yeah.
You did?
Yes.
I
voted against the downtown specific plan, just so you know.
I remember you being around for this
Yes,
particular...
and I argued vehemently with Mr. Hassan, with Mr. Hagani regarding the heights of the buildings back then, and I did not get my way because there were four votes against it.
But we all remember the Americana would
We
have
remember
been,
that very well.
the Americana would have been another floor higher,
Yes. It would have
except
been.
for you.
Yes, it would have been. So I have an issue with the height on Elk. I think on Colorado it works, but on Elk, in my opinion, it doesn't.
Well, it is within the code.
Okay, well, I'll just say my comment is that what
Quickly, the zoning on the opposite side on the south side of Elk is R1650.
Is what?
R1650.
Which is what?
It's in the middle of the densities of
How high would
multifamily
they be
zones.
able to go at R1650?
3
stories? 3 stories?
Either 2 or 3 stories, depending on the width of the site.
Okay, I think the building is fine. I think stepping down from 5 stories on one side of a street to 3 stories on the other is what we're talking about stepping down towards a neighborhood behind it that's lower height and lower density
Where is it 3 stories?
on the south side of Elk. So that's what Roger just told us. Also, when I look at that block, it's really a hodgepodge right now. There's a 4-story building that's a very boxy building that looks very large. There's some 3-story buildings. There's some 2-story buildings. I don't think that this building is going to be something that's going to be hugely overpowering in terms of scale. It's not like it's a 5-story building on a street of 1-story single-family residences. It's a combination of 2- and 3-story apartment buildings. And it is a narrow building compared to a lot of the lots. I do think that 5 stories is appropriate on Colorado. I wouldn't want to see lower height than that. I don't think that that would be appropriate. I think it's a nicely designed building. We don't see a lot in the Tudor style and the sort of symmetrical facade and very traditional type of aesthetic, which will appeal, to a lot of people. So I can support the project. Let me just say, in terms of, because one of the speakers brought up traffic, I agree with Mr. Quintero that if you think you have a traffic issue, you deal with your transportation planning. But to think that because you're building more houses necessarily means you're going to have more traffic in a downtown doesn't necessarily follow. We have tens of thousands of people that drive into our downtown from other areas every single day. If you provide housing for those people in an area where they can now walk to work instead of having to drive into Glendale from somewhere else from work, you're actually taking cars off the road and not putting cars on the road. You have to couple that, of course, with a sensible transportation plan, our B-line, which I've fought to keep robust since I've been on council and would like to see expanded as we continue. In terms of parks, every one of these projects pays a park impact fee that allows us to build new parks and to improve our parks for the residents. So yes, there's an impact, but that impact's mitigated by those fees. There's also an arts fee. There's all sorts of fees that are used not for the betterment of the city employees, but for the betterment of the people who live in those areas. And that's specifically what those funds are dedicated to. And you see them being put to those uses in ways that are important to residents. So we provide housing for people who right now don't have housing near where they work in our downtown, and hopefully they'll take advantage of that. Market rate housing in an area that I think is a vigorous and growing area. And I know from friends that have looked for apartments in Glendale that it's not always that available to find apartments in the downtown in Glendale. It's something that I do know that there's a demand for. So I can support the project and other projects of this type that come forward. Philosophically, I think it's the right way for us to grow in the city. I think it's something that does not, if done correctly, have the kind of impacts that people are afraid of. And in fact, I think it does the opposite. It can take cars off the road and provide housing in an area that is starved for bodies on the street, which is our downtown. Mr. Menuchyan?
You said it steps down to 3 stories on Elk?
No, not this building, the zoning, so that on the
Okay.
south side of Elk.
South side of Elk, but this building is still 5 stories on Elk?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Potential
Yeah,
on the south
it's
to
any
be
new,
3.
any
Okay.
other buildings would have to be 3 stories on Elk. That was to
On the
Mr.
south side of
On the
Elk?
south side.
So on the north side, it's all of it is 5 stories?
They may even be higher,
6
I'm not
with
sure.
incentives. and
6?
That's why I
Could be
asked
higher.
staff to take a look at if that is what we really want.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, and...
Okay, well,
That's another day.
that's the zoning as it exists now, and I think that was my response to Mr. Weaver's question about, are we stepping down as we move towards the lower density neighborhoods to the
We
south?
are.
And we are, sort of street by street. Okay, with that, if there's no further
Want to
discussion.
close the public hearing?
I was closed. I think I already closed it. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
But I appreciate the reminder, because I do forget sometimes.
I'll remove 2A and B.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Council members Menuchyan,
No.
Najarian, Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Friedman.
Yes.
And I'll introduce the ordinance at 2C.
Okay, the ordinance has been introduced. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved for the...
Second.
Okay. We are adjourned. So we're next going to be going, this is for GTV 6, and for the public, we're going to be going to the joint meeting of the Glendale City Council